All right, Paul, so let's take a look at what was going on at the start of our lesson. First thing I want to point out is what's going on over on this side. So notice I'm not really seeing much of the left forearm. That was a problem. We tried to work on that during the lesson and get that more visible to help you with the swing. Let's now clear that out and draw a quick little reference line to look at swing path. So here as we swing back, club goes inside. As we get to the top, wrist position looks like it's a little bit more cupped. As we come down, you're going to see the club come over the top, outside above that triangle that we have, and swinging left across it and hitting more of this kind of weaker type of shot. Ball speed wasn't as high as we'd like it to be, and that's explaining why the ball's not going as far. It's getting too much spin, and typically you're seeing your miss be more of a fade to the right. So let's take a look now over on the right. I'm going to point something out to you as we swing back here. Notice where the hands are right now. I'm going to redraw that line. Say it's about right there. Now as we come down, notice how the hands pass that line. So there's something that's going on incorrectly here. The pro, what would be going on is when a pro gets to the top of the swing, the hands would actually be where they are, like right now, maybe a little bit higher, talking about like in this area. But as they start down, the hands would actually be looking more like in here, where they actually move closer. So hopefully that's making sense, that we're not trying to throw the hands away from the body. We want the hands wide away from the body, and then as they come down, they would actually get closer to you. So as you're making this transition move, instead of your hands being over here, it'd actually be closer to the body, not so far away from you. Now what's happening, because you're throwing the club from the start of this downswing, when you actually make contact, we can see you're coming through, and there's a little bit more of this kind of cup type of look going on through this area. So hopefully that's making sense. When we are swinging back, we want to keep the club wide away from us, and when you come down, you want it to narrow up a bit. So now taking a look at a before and after, on the left with the red X, we have the before. And what you'll see here on the swing back, club face right now is more what I'd call kind of open. You can really see that if we draw a line on the toe, pointing straight up. If we go over here at the same point in time, notice how the toe is pointing a little bit more along your spine angle. So that on the right and the after is much better. Let's see what happens as we continue going back. Get to the top of the swing. Get to the top of the swing. You can see the body looks just a little bit different as far as the spine angle. I actually like to look a little bit more of the golfer on the right as far as the tilt that you're creating. As we start down, hands are definitely working a little bit more outward. Club comes across, and we get a little bit more out to in. As we come down here, we let the wrist kind of relax a little bit more. The club slots. We come down, and it's coming a little bit more on your path. Now, granted, it's still open at this point in time. Remember we talked about a second ago where that toe's pointing indicates kind of is the face open or shut, right? We wanted to get it to where that toe would be more matching to the spine angle, kind of tilted more that way instead of where it currently is pointing that way. Let's keep going. And you'll see you'll kind of square it up and the ball goes. There it is, going straight. It's a much better golf swing. So what we did to try to create this is I was basically holding a pool noodle, holding it kind of like right in this general area, and having you try to feel like you swung underneath it. So your goal was trying to get the sensation to be that your path is moving more out that direction, allowing your wrist to have a little bit of rotation so the face closes.
All right, Paul, so let's talk about what was going on today in the start. So at the very beginning, we'll talk about forearm positioning. So when you were in your setup, you were actually having this point more left. So you were you were actually open too much. So we had to close your turns, trying to get your left forearm more to be on top and the right, a little bit more soft and touch at your side. So when you do that with a golf club, it'll look a little bit more like this, where you can see my left forearm, and you can see my right being kind of pulled in more inward. Now, we don't want to do that by just moving our feet around, right? The feet still keep their natural position. You're just basically adjusting more where your shoulders and forearms are pointing. Next thing that we saw was in the swing, when we get to the top, sometimes we'd end up seeing your wrist position kind of being in this little like L shape, and that would promote you to want to come over the top to try to basically be able to hit the ball somewhat straight with an open face. So what we changed is we had you try to get it to where you swung more inward, and we had the face feel like you were pointing these knuckles more away from you. From there on the way down, we want to get a path that swings more out to the right, and we added a little piece that you were allowed on the way down to have these knuckles, especially like this pinky knuckle, to feel like it works a little bit more downward. And what that does is it shuts the face, and when you come through, you'll be a little bit more square, be able to swing inside out, and maybe even hit like a little draw. So those are our main keys from today. So just to reiterate that, we want to get the forearms a little bit more closed. We want to feel like we're swinging more in to out, and you're allowed to have a little bit of the hands rolling through the swing as you go through. Keep that face shut. So spend some time practicing that, and I'm sure it'll help.